What I'm going to do is try to recap what we have seen today to put it in the context of what MindMaze is trying to do for rehabilitation. So what we have learned from the talks today, that really we need a shift in the way we do rehabilitation, and the shift means that rehabilitation must be personalized. We have to find a way to select the proper patients who can benefit from a given rehabilitation protocol. Rehabilitation must be intense and as early as possible in this period where the brain is more plastic. And we need evidence-based results. We have to design protocols which are supported by scientific evidence. So imagine that you have a system which allows you to increase the dose and to increase the intensity and the duration of the rehabilitation, which might increase motivation of the patients to be engaged in the rehabilitation, which can be used to administer fully controlled exercise so that you can really monitor and personalize the kind of exercise that you want to provide based on the patients. In this way, you can eventually maximize the recovery and reduce the cost of the system. So this is something that potentially through virtual reality can be achieved. But the key point, the key message I want to give you today is that there is nothing magic in virtual reality per se. It's the way you administer and the way you design the intervention which might make a difference to allow all these features in a new rehabilitation profiles. So this is what MindMaze is trying to do. And it's a new way of using technology, but in a way that combines different levels of technology and knowledge from neuroscience, virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, content development, and robotics. And I go back to what Jesse already showed about the results of the Cochrane review, where they say that there is limited but significant evidence that virtual reality can be used to ameliorate patients. But what Jesse already highlighted is that in this meta-analysis, the term virtual reality is used to group a lot of interventions, which differs a lot in the things that have been done with virtual reality. So there can be Wii game, there can be normal games, can be serious game, or can be really virtual reality rehabilitation approaches. And I like to quote this paper by Adam Gazzaley, who was talking about serious games, so not really virtual reality, but computer-based exercise. And one of the main points here is that technology, of course, is promising. Technology is very useful, but there is a lot of expectation, there is a lot of excitation in the field about technology and virtual reality in particular. But this excitation cannot be seen as just a way to make profit, to develop things to make money. But we have to develop exercise and activities through technology that are based on clinical and scientific and neuroscientific evidence. So that here it's video games, but we can sustain virtual reality, that high-level virtual reality development and rigorous scientific validation tests to become the twin pillar foundation of the next generation of technology-based intervention. So I think this is the mission that MindMaze has. And in order to tackle this mission, MindMaze has a view of covering the whole spectrum of continuum of care of stroke patients. What we have also heard today is that, of course, you have stroke patients in the acute phase, right after the stroke unit, and then you have to start rehabilitation as soon as possible. Then patients transit to more chronic phases, and then they go home, and most of the patients at home are left alone. So if we have a technology which can cover some of this span and can adapt to the needs of the patients at this level, at any level of this span of continuum of care, this is the way we can really make a difference. So the first device that MindMaze is developing this vision is what already Jesse presented, and I think it's here. It's the MindMotion Pro, and I think the best way is having a movie to show how it works. Jesse already explained it a lot, but just to give you an idea of how the device works, I think I can go later since we have time. So patients wear these markers, and there is a camera which captures the movement of the patients, and this movement is reproduced on a screen where the patient sees an avatar doing exactly the movement he's doing and see the target. So in this way, we can completely monitor the patient's movement. We can completely parameterize and control the stimuli we put on the screen. And we can also have a sort of embodiment or immersion, minimal level of immersion in virtual reality through this sensory motor loop from the movement of the patient, what he sees on the screen. So this, as you see, the device is portable and can use at the bed of the patients because it's thought to be applied as soon as possible in the rehabilitation phase. Nick Ward already explained a lot about this window of plasticity, which is higher in the first weeks of treatment. So if we can find a solution whereby patients can be treated a lot intensively and in the correct way, because everything is controlled. In this first part of recovery, there is hope to improve the outcome. And one of the key things is when we start doing rehabilitation, and depending from country to country, but in general, really rehabilitation onset is late with respect to this plasticity window. So we have started to collect data and to provide scientific data supporting the claims and the vision of MindMaze. So this is a study which is under consideration now, whereby we tested patients in the acute phase. So you see that we had patients using MindMotion Pro 4 or 5 days after their stroke. And we collect data about usage and usability, and we saw that we can have up to 20, on average 27 sessions, but up to 40 sessions of rehabilitation exercise in the acute phase in the clinic with MindMotion Pro. And then, of course, we asked whether the patients like it or not, and we have a lot of adherence and a lot of motivation in doing this kind of rehabilitation. Another thing that Jesse mentioned is this possibility of doing mirror mode therapy. That is, the patient can move the healthy limb when he cannot move the impaired one, and we can show the avatar as moving the impaired limb. And we know that through action observation mechanism, we can activate motor cortex, even not only by moving, but also by observing movements. So these are preliminary data, which are under review, so not published. I acknowledge this to you, but what is for sure known is in healthy participants, if you move your right or your left hand, you activate massively the contralateral motor cortex. And then if you show this mirror mode, that is the opposite arm being moved, you have a bilateral activation. You see it here. You evoke a bilateral activation. So you can activate both the contralateral and the ipsilateral hemisphere. And then these are data from one patient, stroke patients, who was performing the activity with his healthy limb, and watching in the movie, in the screen, what the avatar is doing with the limb matching his paretic limb. And you see that in this case we have bilateral activation. And this is the difference between the healthy and the mirror mode and the normal mode of MindMotion Pro. And you see that we can activate with EEG and improve with EEG the impaired cortex while patient is doing this mirror mode training. So we need more data, we need more scientific results and some scientific investigation. This is why we're teaming up with many different centers around the world, and we have two studies that are ready to start. One is in UCSF, University of San Francisco, whereby we want to provide multimodal imaging evidence of the effects of MindMotion Pro between pre and post. And then we are starting a project at Paris-Saint-Pétrer, the ICM, with Charlotte Rosso, who is here, whereby we want to use multimodal imaging to detect what are the changes in the brain while patients are using the devices. So more is coming. In terms of evidence, Jesse presented a lot and explained it very well what are the aims of the MOVE trial. And in general, we are doing a lot of work for clinical validation. It is the devices are placed in several centers all around Europe or all around the world to get and acquire data. So this is for MindMotion Pro is thought to start in the subacute early phase of recovery, but then you have a transition, a normal transition of recovery, so patients move to the rehabilitation units, and there they might need different kind of stimulation, and this is why we designed the MindMotion Go device with a lighter, a simpler version of the device. And here we really tap into the gamification part of virtual reality. That is, you can use activities which are more enjoyable, funny for the patients, which can motivate more to train patients. The key thing is that all these activities have been designed by therapists to really tap into the movement and exercise that normal physiotherapy would administer to a patient. So we took all the exercise, for instance, flexion, wrist flexion and extension, and we transform this standard exercise in gamified activities, so that patients enjoy more, can train more, we can increase motivation, and we can give feedback to that. So here again, we are in the phase of validating all these activities. For that, we placed the device in many different clinics, so we collected data from almost 250 patients, and we are now in the phase of analyzing all this data before putting the MindMotion Go in the market. So there are other devices that MindMaze has developed as technological devices. So MindMaze is property of the cameras to record the activities in MindMotion Pro. We are working on an edge-mounted display system which integrates EEG recording, which is called the Neurogoggles. And this is the new device which MindMaze has developed, which is called the Mask. That is an edge-mounted display. I think it's better if I show with the movie, which can detect EMG, electromuscular activity from the face, and in this way, we can animate an avatar depending on the motion that the subject is doing while using the mask. So this is more, if you want, an entertainment tool at the moment, but we can develop this tool for EMG recording of facial muscles, for instance, which is very important for stroke patients. Or another component which is very important and almost neglected in the rehabilitation part is the emotional side of therapy. And maybe we can develop some algorithms to detect emotion of patients while we do virtual reality rehabilitation. And with this, it's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
We are a little bit out of time, so I want to thank MindMaze for this very stimulating symposium.